I had a different question until that one. When you feel love, or when you feel grief from somebody who's passed, it's when they're sending you their love. Can you feel that with somebody who's here, but not with you physically?
Well, that's really what that conversation is all about, yes. Every emotion that you have is about the thought that you're thinking from your human point of view and the thought that your inner being is thinking from your non-physical point of view. And all of your dearly departed are not so departed. They're hanging around. In other words, they're part of that non-physical energy stream. So that is the entire conversation that we were just having, yes.
That's great, because I sense this person who I've never met before. But then my late husband, who I should feel more, I don't.
Well, let's not use this as a testing of how much love we have for each other, because there are a lot of reasons that you focus. Interest, or what you're asking for. Esther said she had a friend that traveled as part of the crew for quite a long while. And when they would have dinner together, a group of them, and he would talk about his father, Esther would always get his father. And she would say to him, I get your father, but I don't get my father. What's up with that? And it was about the topic in the moment. It was about the focus in the moment. There are a lot of factors about it, yes? One day, Esther and others were having lunch with a family whose mother had just made her transition. So her husband was there, and their grown children were there, and their grandchildren were there. It was a big group around a table, and Esther was being introduced to some of this woman who had made her transition, some of her sons who Esther had never met before. And as they were eating their meal, all Esther wanted to do was hug them and kiss them and lick their face. It was all she could do to contain herself and behave, because she had such an impulse to express her appreciation in tactile, let me lick you ways. And they were not aware so much of Abraham. They'd come in from another city. They didn't really get all of this. They were all there for a celebration of their mother. And Esther is thinking, I got to settle down here, because they're going to think I'm a nutty person. And finally, she just couldn't hold it back. There's one other in the room. Finally, she just couldn't hold it back. And she just said, I just got to say, your mother is so right here, and she's so happy for me to lay my eyes on you. Her appreciation for you right now is so powerful that I cannot deny that she's flowing right through me right now. And it was transformative for them, because they were not at the place of really knowing, but they were feeling it too. They were feeling an affinity to Esther that they didn't understand, because they didn't understand their mother's energy was active in Esther at the time. You are all doing this for one another all the time. There is no separation between physical or non-physical. How often does somebody make their transition and a bird or a critter of some kind makes its way into your experience, and when you look at them, you think of your dearly departed, because they came bringing that message. The non-physical focus saw someone who could bring the message to you. And so there are lots of factors. Our encouragement is really why we want you to, every way you can, utilize whatever process or whatever feels good to you, to be in that open receptive mode. Because when you're in an open and receptive mode, your life is so much more rich, you see. And here's something that most people do not understand about non-physical. Most people think some version of this, which is not accurate. That you come into physical, you live, you do the best you can, you try to prove worthiness, you never quite get it done, then you reemerge into non-physical and you're judged by somebody, and that's that. That's sort of the way almost all of the population thinks about the subject of death. What's really going on is that you come into the physical experience, you have your life experience, you align or you don't. It really doesn't matter except for the joy factor. In other words, there's no negative or positive repercussions following. In other words, all of your reward or what you would call punishment is happening in the moment. That's what positive and negative emotion is. That's what clarity or confusion are. That's happening in the moment right here out on the leading edge. But here's what most people don't understand, which is so lovely once you do understand it. And that is everyone who is non-physically focused, who has been a part of you, who include a lot of people that you didn't even know, are now aware of you. So the thoughts that you are thinking and the things that you are upon, there is a whole stream of non-physical consciousness focused with you, rooting with you, acknowledging with you, benefiting with you, reveling with you, right here in every moment of conscious awareness. You are not alone or even close to alone. And so it's logical to think for Esther that, of course, Jerry's there, but it's more than just Jerry. It's all the beings who have been teachers, who are eager to be out here on the leading edge with this. It's those people that have known each of you. In other words, your inner beings all right here. Your inner beings knowing where you stand in relationship to what you want and putting their 2 cents worth in the influence of what Esther receives vibrationally and what comes out of her mouth, so that the little opening that you're ready for is right there for you. This is not one static message that has been memorized and is offered over and over again. It's a dynamic message that is received in the moment from non-physical inner beings who adore you, who know right where you are in relationship to everything that you want. And you don't need Esther for that translation. But sometimes it helps if someone is doing the translation to help you to believe that the translation is possible. And sometimes what Esther translates helps you to understand that in every moment you have so much. Want to call it guidance? Call it guidance. Want to call it help? Call it help. Want to call it support? Call it support. We would like to call it interest in who you are, and adoration about your willingness to be in this physical body, taking thought beyond that which it has been before. Leading edge creators, do you know how good that is? But you're not alone. Leading edge creators with backup.